So welcome everyone to this day of mindfulness. So dear Thai, dear Sister Chen Kang, dear friends and noble community, so delighted you're here. This is, for me, and I know for many of us, a dream come true to be together like this. So again, I want to invite you to pause and to just take a look around at the people who are here with you. And greet them with your eyes. So this Dharma talk is entitled Healing and Togetherness. And so the theme for the first half of this talk is becoming your own true love. Becoming your own true love. And then the second half of the talk is community as togetherness and healing. So shall we begin with a moment to practice together? So coming into a posture that is supportive for you. Perhaps allowing the spine to be straight. Allowing the head to be balanced over the shoulders and the shoulders balanced over the hips and the knees balanced over the feet. And bringing your awareness to the full length of the body. Feeling the support at the back of the body. And feeling your posture stable and upright. Feeling the stability, the solidity of the floor underneath you. How doing nothing at all, simply breathing, you are supported by Mother Earth, by the floor, the ground underneath you. So breathing in, feeling the breath come in, feeling the cool air, and breathing out, feeling the warmth of the breath leave the body. So breathing in, I follow this in breath all the way through. Breathing out, following the out breath. I bring my mind, my attention to the in breath, to the out breath. Breathing in, I'm aware of this body. I'm thankful. I extend thanks to this body. I'm so grateful. Breathing in, I recognize where there is tension in my body, and I release it. So breathing out, releasing the tension. Breathing in, I accept myself. I accept this moment. Breathing out, I am so grateful. So, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And then moving in any way that is comfortable for you. Maybe stretching the arms up or twisting the spine from left to right. Whatever would be supportive for you. paying attention. What does your body need? A big yawn, a big sigh, a big shaking? What would help you? So that's listening to the body. Do that. So this is a Dharma talk that is interactive, right? And so we are co-creating this together. How you listen creates this talk. You didn't know you were giving a Dharma talk when you came, but sorry, I hate to break this to you. Anyway, we're going to begin with, this this part of enlarging the heart, becoming our own true love. How do we do this? How do we create self-love, self-regard for ourselves? And this is a contemplative talk, and so I will be inviting you to reflect, to take a moment to reflect. So if you have a piece of paper and a writing device, you could use that. That's perfectly fine. And if you don't, that is fine too. But to pause and take note of what's coming up. So it was John Dewey who said that we don't learn from our experiences. We don't learn from our experiences. We learn from reflecting on our experiences. And so reflection is really the growth space of practice. So Thai has also said, Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, that our life is our message. Our life is our message. And for me, as a Quaker, we have an expression that embodies this universal truth. That expression is, let your life speak. Let your life speak. So during this talk, I'm going to be sharing from my own life experience, which means that this is a work in progress. I am not checking in as an expert, but as someone who is right alongside you, learning and growing. And it's often said that we teach what we need to learn the most. So there you go. And because I'm speaking from my personal experience, there's the dimension of self, right? And so I am aware, of course, that there are many dimensions of self. There's the historical dimension of self, which is I was born in this location, I live in this location, I do this thing. That is the historical dimension. There is, of course, the ultimate dimension of self in Buddhist terms, where there is no birth, there is no death, there is no being, there is no non-being, there is no after, there is no before. And I'll be pointing in the direction of the ultimate dimension of self. And there is another dimension of self that our teacher has written about in his beautiful book, Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet. And that is the action dimension of self. Action. What is our action? Right? So we're co-creating this talk together. So I'd like to begin in a Quakerly way with a query. So a query from the Religious Society of Friends is different from a question. With a query, there is no right or wrong. It's more like a gut check. So here's the query for you. When was the last time you were kind to yourself? When was the last time you were kind to yourself? When was the last time you spoke to yourself with kindness. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see what's wrong? So I recently did just this at a retreat. The facilitator invited us to do a meditation, looking into a small mirror at ourselves. And I was so surprised with all of my years of training. What did I see? What I was dissatisfied with, what was wrong. So the Buddha has offered many meditations on love. Because think about it, 2,600 years ago, the forest, it's dark. There's lions and tigers. Oh my, people were like scared, freaked out, you know? And they had to walk from village to village. And sometimes they didn't want to go, they were like frightened. So he would offer them a meditation, and one of the most famous is this meditation on love and loving kindness, metta. On the discourse on love, many people call it. And so in this discourse, the Buddha would say, beginning with ourselves, offering a kind of phrase of encouragement and love. So we would begin with ourselves, the Buddha said, and saying something like, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be free. And really take that in. So what if you were to do that right now? And call your name. Yes, and you can place a hand on your heart, and we know just by doing this, we activate this vagus nerve as well as the sympathetic nervous system. Yeah, very tender. May I, and call your name. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I cherish myself. Feel that. Breathe into your hand. This is the first step. And the Buddha said, consider the people who support you, who love you, and wish the same thing for that person. So bring to mind someone that you love, someone, it's easy to love them, and extending the same wish to that person. Maybe it's an animal, maybe it's a group of people. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you know love. And feel that. These are the instructions of the Buddha. The Buddha also said, now you bring into your mind's eye the neutral person. This is a person you do not know. Maybe someone you passed by on the street. But take a moment and picture that person. An animal, a stray cat. Bring that being into your mind's eye and extend the same. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you know love. With every cell of your being. You really mean that, even to someone you don't know. Imagine. That's love. Finally, the Buddha said, bringing into your mind's eye someone that you think is the cause of your suffering. Yes, it's hard with this person. Maybe it's hard. And if you're ready to even extend those phrases to someone like that, may you be happy. May you be safe. May you know love and feel that. So this is the practice of love. This is how we become our own true love. So we do this practice not because we feel kind, not because we feel loving. No. We do this because we are deserving of love, because we are deserving of kindness. So the Buddha said, you can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of love and affection than you are yourself. And that person is not to be found anywhere. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and your affection. You can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of love and affection than you are yourself, and that person is not to be found anywhere. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserves your love and affection. And Tai has said, to love first of all, is to accept yourself as you actually are. As you actually are. Right? This is the practice of love. So shall we hear a sound of the bell? So we live with an abundance of messages of self-love and self-care. And tell you the truth, I often call those messages faux love. Faux self-care, meaning it's really about a kind of temporary feel-good, quick fix, like a mani-pedi. And I have nothing against a mani-pedi, or a bubble bath. Lovely. But this is momentary. This is not the same as becoming your own true love. So becoming your own true love, what we're practicing here, is loving from the inside out. This is about coming home to yourself, to become aware of our own tendencies, our habit energies, right? And so this begins with the practice of shamatha, stopping, right? Which is what we're doing today. We're stopping. And the practice of vipassana, to look deeply, to pause and look deeply, to see what's here. And shamatha and vipassana are forms. This is an expression of self-love. So we pause long enough to look deeply, to see what is required to be transformed. And then we provide that for ourselves. So Thai has said that our sanghas are a true mirror. Our friends, our loved ones, our family members, they all can be true mirrors. The people who care about us, we all need true mirrors. They can help us see ourselves, what we cannot see. Everyone needs a true mirror. So we know that we cannot have a relationship with another person that's stronger than the relationship we have with ourselves. It doesn't work. Right? So being a true mirror means that we accept ourselves as we are, and we have the help of the Sangha. So for many of us, we have internalized quite a strong conditioning, myself included. And so this conditioning says that self-love is selfish, right? It's quite narcissistic. And this is where right view and right thinking is quite important. Right view and right thinking. So we need to pause and we need to offer ourselves unconditional, positive acceptance. Unconditional, positive self-acceptance. So for many of us, myself included, my daily life is filled with stressors. And I don't mean the saber-toothed tiger, but rather implicit or explicit forms of discrimination, microaggressions, which often are not micro. And all of this can foster a sense that the world is not safe. For many of us, myself included, we have anxiety, or we're caring for loved ones who are ill. Again, sending a message, especially to our autonomic nervous system, that we must remain on high alert. So chronic stress activation is the new normal. This is the norm of our lives. And so under stress, we become biased. We become biased toward the negative. The negative captures our attention. It becomes more salient in our recall. And again, this is adaptive, right? We learn rapidly from the negative, from stressful events. And so what this means is that we can hold on to these negative self-images. So it's important to be able to do what we've been doing in this day of mindfulness, to be able to self-regulate, to cultivate a tender heart and self-acceptance. Right? And I said in the beginning that our life is our message, right? And let your life speak. So I want to give an example from my own life about this. So for me, it's been very, very hard as a Black person to receive love, even compliments. And the other day, my niece gave me a compliment, and I deflected it immediately. I had a hard time taking this in, and maybe you have experienced something like that. And for me, I'm single and I don't have family members close by, so sometimes I feel very awkward when I have to complete a form and list an emergency contact. Actually, sometimes I feel a sense of shame around it. Like, I need to put an emergency contact down. Who am I going to list? And then feeling kind of unwanted and unlovable. And these are the emotions that come up. And then I realized I am my own emergency contact. I can provide for myself unconditional self-regard, unconditional support. And I'm not saying that, we don't need relationships, but we can provide this for ourselves too. So I started a practice that our teacher taught us, the 4 mantras. Right? He taught us the 4 mantras. And so, but I would skip over 3 and practice with 1. So I want to share the 4 mantras, the first of the 4 mantras with you. So the first mantra is, darling, I'm here for you. And we kind of do the same thing. We place our hand on our heart and we breathe into our hand and we say those words, darling, call your name. I'm here for you. Would you practice with me? Darling, and call your name. I'm here for you. And say it again, darling. I'm here for you. And really feel it. So this is the practice of being your own emergency contact. This is the practice of becoming your own true love. The other three mantras is, darling, I know you're there, and I'm happy. I know you're there, I'm really happy you're there. And darling, I know you suffer. I know it's hard. And then finally, really vulnerably, darling, I'm hurt. Can you help me? I need your support. So these are the teachings. If we want to love ourselves, another person, we need to show our needs. We need to show our needs, right? We need to express our feelings, and this is how we do it. Right, so because all of the mantras are interconnected, you practice one, you're practicing all 4. So I recommend that first mantra, darling, I'm there for you. So perhaps we need to offer true validation, true understanding to ourselves. And it is through the wisdom of neuroplasticity, the plasticity of the brain, that we can change. None of this is set in stone. So this is not about parroting, but really about looking deeply at our perceptions, mental formations, our consciousness. What is calling forth to be transformed? So with the truth of interbeing, with the truth of impermanence, we know that self-care and self-love is contextual. So as we change our relationship to ourselves because of interbeing, we change the structures, we change the systems in society that promote peace, that promote justice, like paid parental leave. How can you have a society without paid parental leave? The crisis in Black maternal health care. We see that this is interconnected. You change yourself from the inside, you recognize you're part of a system and a structure that also requires self-love and self-care. It's not like the system doesn't require self-love and self-care, just me. No, the system requires self-love and self-care too. So less than 2 hours from where we are seated, there is a small village. For many, many years, I passed through this village on my way to a retreat center. The village is called Roseto. Does anyone know Roseto? If you do, raise your hand. If you know the town, the village of Roseto, Pennsylvania. So in the 1950s and 1960s, most of the residents of Roseto were working class Italian immigrants. They all came from a small village in Italy. Many of the people who settled in Roseto, they were overweight. They consumed a diet high in saturated fats. They led a sedentary lifestyle. They lived and they worked in the Slate Belt of Pennsylvania, an area that was surrounded by environmental pollutants. So one would expect that in a place like that, under those circumstances, with that kind of lifestyle, that the people would die young. But actually, just the opposite happened. And so that town gave rise to what is now known as the Roseto effect. In Roseto, the people were close-knit. It was a community with very strong social ties, social connections. And these strong social ties lowered and protected against heart disease. Toddlers played with grandparents. Neighbors spoke to each other from their front porch. There were multi-generational households. Nobody had heart disease. And so the researchers were curious. And this is what they found, the strong social ties. Of course, because the family and social structure has changed, heart disease is now prevalent in the village of Roseto. And so, as you may know, before COVID, the Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, declared an epidemic of isolation, alienation, right, and loneliness in the United States, with about half of all US adults reporting measurable levels of loneliness, which of course increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, and dementia. And we know too that loneliness is the equivalent, the researchers say, to consuming 15 cigarettes a day. So loneliness is the new smoking, right? And perhaps the greatest gift that Thai and the Plum Village community have given us is the practice to address social isolation. And so I'd like to share two. There are many, many. This is one, having a day of mindfulness. So the first practice is the wisdom of interbeing. To recognize the inherent interconnectedness. To stop and pause and know that our happiness is connected. Our suffering is connected. Right? When we suffer less, others suffer less. When we're happier, others are happier. It is the universal truth. So ask yourself, pause, reflection, remember John Dewey, all of that. Who do I need to reach out to today? Who do I need to reach out to today? Social ties. The second practice is a practice of healing and reconciliation. Very, very critical practice called beginning anew. Beginning anew. So beginning anew is a way to generate peace and calm, first within ourselves. How to speak, how to listen, how to think, and then to share that with other people. Right? So this is not a technique, it is a path. It's a way of being. Right? And so we take care of our emotions, especially our emotions of anger, or hurt. And it's really a path, a way of having a conversation with another person, especially when we have a conflict. So the set and the setting is very important. We take our time, we don't rush like we're doing here, we just take our time. We may have a cup of tea and have some flowers and just set aside time to have a chat. And there are 4 steps. So let me share the 4 steps with you. For me, one of the most important is the first step. And the first step we call flower watering. Isn't that a lovely term, like flower watering? So step 1, we speak about the good qualities in the other person. The 2 people may have difficulties. Often when we're upset, we're not looking for the good qualities. We're looking for where's the person, like a mess. But what if you flip that and you actually looked at the good qualities of the person that you're angry with, or that you don't like, or that you're having an issue with? Everybody's got something good, right? So that's step 1. And, the practice is coming back. We have to have enough solidity to be able to stop and pause, just like what we're doing here. So it takes practice. And, as practitioners, we actually train. We take a vow to train with suffering. And we take a vow to understand what's hurting us so we can transform it, so we can embrace it. We don't push it away. We don't deny it. We don't stuff it down. We say, oh yeah, I'm upset. That's the training that we take, right? We hold that. Right? And as you might suspect, that's a high art. It's an art form, to be able to have the solidity to hold that. Right? So we do that like we've been doing it before, with our breath. Breathe in. I'm aware. I'm aware that anger is here. Breathing out. I accept this feeling of anger. I release the tension that's built up in my body. Right? I accept you, dear friend. Come, have a cup of tea with me, this feeling of anger. We don't push it away and say, get out of here, anger. We welcome it. So that is the practice of step 1. Step 2 is to be able to express regret. And this is challenging, to be vulnerable and say, I'm sorry. Because often, if we go the other direction, it can lead to kind of defensiveness or worse. So we express regret. Step 3, we express our hurt feeling, our suffering. We actually share with the person, not, here's where this came from. Here's the root of this. This is why this is so hard for me. Like, we give the person a shared context that helps to build understanding. Not overshare, but enough that the person understands, right? And what this helps to do is build compassion. And here I want to lift up a friend of the Sangha, Dr. Kirsten Neff, who's now become one of the world's experts on compassion and has written endlessly about it. And she says there's 2 elements of compassion. There's a tender side of compassion in which we accept and we offer comfort and we're present. And then there's a fierce side of compassion. John Lewis, get in good trouble, right? Take action. Remember the elements of self, historical, ultimate action. You take action, right? That is the other element of compassion. And maybe the action is set a boundary with this person. They need a boundary. That is loving action. Maybe you need to say no, because saying no is saying yes to something else. Right? So that's wisdom. That's compassion. So there's a fierceness, a fierce quality to it. Many people say strong back, soft front. Strong back, soft front. And then finally, step 4, we ask for support. We all need support. And we don't have any expectation from the person, like open-handed. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't, but I'm not clinging to it. So there you have it, and a bit of a recap. To love, first of all, is to accept yourself as you actually are. These are the words of our teacher. to practice loving kindness, to open to our own self-love. Practice the 4 mantras, beginning with darling, I'm here for you. The first mantra. Recognize the wisdom of interbeing, which recognizes that self-love is grounded in action to change the systems and the structures of society. Remember the Rosetto effect, the importance of strong social ties. Who do you need to connect to today? And practice beginning anew, to understand our own emotions and to support greater understanding with another person and in the world. So thank you so much for co-creating this talk together.